to the corral. Thank you for checking in. I have to tell you how this episode came about because it was really strange how I chose to do this one. Normally I plan episodes in advance and I prep myself and I'm trying to be better at that and blah, blah, blah. But this was a little different. So I've been reading Charles Dickens, a lot of Dickens lately. Currently I'm reading, as you're watching this, I'm reading The Old Curiosity Shop, which is so great, the story of Nell and her tragic tale. I know some of you don't like Dickens. I can't help you. I love Dickens. In fact, if you look around on my channel, somewhere I have one of the travel videos. I'm in the Dickens house in London. Anyway, I'm reading Dickens, and I set it down because I have a mess of a collection, and I set it down and I was looking for another Dickens book, and I found it. I found Great Expectations, which I'm going to reread next. Anyways, when I was snooping around looking for the other Charles Dickens books that I have, I came across Ross McDonald, and that's how you're getting this episode, because you move stuff around, especially over here in places I haven't shown you over there, and it gets kind of messy because there's books stacked upon books and stuff behind it. I have found interesting stuff I didn't even remember I had. Anyways, such is the life, right? We should all have such problems. Anyway, there's Ross McDonald, and I thought, oh yes, I love the hard-boiled writers. So if we're going to talk about Ross McDonald, I have to preface that with Hammett and Chandler. Hammett and Chandler are the gold standard of hard-boiled private eye fiction. Philip Marlowe and the Continental Op. I haven't really talked about them except in passing on this channel. There are so many people in the YouTube community that touch upon these wonderful books by Hammett and Chandler that I'm not really going to go into it right now. Maybe later in the year. We'll see. Anyway, I have to preface it because those are, when you're looking at the history, those are the gold standard. And then you get Mickey Spillane, who was always different from them and frowned upon by critics and fans alike in some ways. Spillane's reputation has improved over the years because people are reevaluating his work. And then you have the modern guys who are doing this type of thing. Some of them are very good at what they do. Preston and Child certainly are at the top. I like C.J. Box and etc. Anyways, I came back to Ross McDonald because of Charles Dickens, one of the all-time greats, The Old Curiosity Shop. Ross McDonald was really Kenneth Miller. Millar, M-I-L-L-A-R, is it Millar? I don't know. I just call it Miller because that's what it looks like to me on the page. 1915, 1983. Boy, I had such a wonderful relationship with his books when he was alive, and that's great. So I just grabbed 3. I have everything. I have hardcovers. I think even right here, you can barely see it on camera. That is Archer at Large, which features, this is a compilation. I believe it features the Galton case, the Chill, and yes, it features the Galton case, the Chill, and Black Money, 3 classics here. And I have others as well. So anyway, I just grabbed 3, but I made sure I grabbed the first one. The Moving Target was 1949. This is the first Lew Archer novel. It was made into a movie in 1966 called Harper with Paul Newman, one of my favorite Paul Newman films. Wonderful movie. Obviously, the setting is different. 1949 novel, should hold that up for you, compared to a movie made in 1966 as a contemporary thriller, much different type of thing. Harper, the film, has a very 60s feel to it. The Moving Target upon which it is based has a very late 40s feel to it. That's pretty much a standard thing. There's actually a quote in here on this edition. It comes up on page 88, and this is a Warner's edition, one of the later paperbacks. Let's see if I can tell you the year this edition was. This was a 1990s edition. So here's a famous quote In a 1946 car with a late model girl beside me, I could still imagine we were crossing the watershed between Colton's atomic age and the age of stone, when men stood up on their hind legs and began to count time by the sun. Sorry, I didn't read that very well. That's a famous quote from here. Colton's atomic age was a listing of the historical references that led to the creation of the atomic bomb. Historical people involved in looking at atomic energy, radiation, and so forth. That's what he means by that. That was a list. I believe it was published in a book. I could be wrong on this. There was a book called The Atomic Age, published in 1945. It's a paperback. I have it around here somewhere. Anyways, famous quote. There are differences between, other than the cultural differences, there are differences between the movie and the book. Both are excellent. The book gets a little bogged down in the last third, I think, but it's still a great book. His books would become better. Ross McDonald, a.k.a. Kenneth Miller, would refine his style as he went along. If you're going to read any of the Lew Archer books, this would be a good place to start. Just dig right into it. Some of the scenes you'll see in here are replicated almost exactly in the movie, even though it's set in a different time period. But there are some other differences. Anyway, it's a great book. It's Lew Archer, Private Eye. You know, he is going to find the missing husband, who is Samson, and most of you are familiar with the film. So then I picked up The Barbarous Coast, which is in 1956. This is a little later. And this paperback cost me $1.25. Those days are long gone. So, you know, you can look here. Did I write down how many? I didn't. Yeah, he had 18 Lew Archer novels, is what I wrote down. If that's incorrect, let me know. I think 18, and here they are listed here. This is a 1975 paperback, and this is the one where there's a missing blonde. All right, whenever you have that, that's an automatic trope for this type of thing. Either the blonde is missing or the blonde walks into the Private Eye's office. And so Lew Archer is your standard Philip Marlowe type of Private Eye. The differences in the stories and the way Ross McDonald wrote them is that Ross McDonald took a more psychological approach to it, and he went in depth to the emotional impact of the family traumas that would sometimes occur in the unraveling of the mystery. Much more than Raymond Chandler did. And that's fine. You know, it doesn't bother me at all. I think that's what distinguishes Ross McDonald as one of the all-time greats. His writing is very much hard-boiled, however. He doesn't alter that from Chandler, Hammett, even Spillane and some of the other writers from the 30s and 40s. He keeps that intact. You know, the imagery is always there. He can turn a phrase. It's marvelous material. And let's take a look if there was anything here. A man wearing a blue uniform and an official-looking peaked cap came out of the stone gatehouse. His hair was black and bushy below the cap, sprinkled with gray like iron filings. Sprinkled with gray like iron filings. You can actually imagine that. That's a really strange but unique imagery, you know. In spite of his frayed ears and hammered-in nose, his head had the combination of softness and strength you see in old Indian faces. His skin was dark. So Ross McDonald keeping in tune with the basic style of the hard-boiled pulp magazine writers of the 30s and 40s, with very strong images that punch you right in the face. So it's great there. Great books. These are great books. For me, reading a Ross McDonald mystery, you know, I don't put them down. If I were to start to reread one of these today, and I reread several recently, I didn't stop. I don't stop and say, oh, you know, I just plow through. So I'm a fast reader. I can read a book this length, and this is one of the longer ones. I can read this in 2 days, 2 nights of reading. I don't watch television very much, do I? So anyways, the Zebra Striped Hearse dates from 1963. This is about parents, the Blackwells, who want Archer to investigate the background of their daughter's suitor. And therein lies what leads to mysteries and problems in the usual things. Always family. In most of his books, after a certain point, it's always family relations. And the family relations are complicated. Not that much different, really, when you think about it, to Victoria Holt or Mary Stewart and Phyllis A. Whitney. If they're getting into some of these romance thriller writers, would talk about the complexity of the family relationships, which often lead to trouble. So, you're in trouble now, and that trouble just kind of blossoms. It blossoms for you as a reader, and you're wondering what the hell's going to happen. Most of the time with McDonald, Ross McDonald is quite satisfying to read. A couple of them, the ending was just a little too abrupt for me, but the rest of it was fine. And by the ending, I'm talking about the last few paragraphs. I'm quite a fan of Ross McDonald. I have them all, mostly in paperback. I have a couple of hardcovers too, and I have the last one, and I have the Underground Man and some of the later ones, and so forth. If you haven't read Ross McDonald, he is, my friends, he is in print. You can find Ross McDonald all over the place. One of the great writers of private investigator novels. I really am fond of him. A lot of years where his books soothed me during difficult times. And isn't that always why we read? Sometimes just for pure entertainment, but sometimes they'll just go somewhere else and be soothed by something different, by a different adventure, a different tale. And Ross McDonald provided that for me many, many years. And so, my friends, once again, stay well, stay happy, feed your brain, read a book.